Well, hello there. Good evening and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Thank you most kindly for joining us. Tonight, we focus on the PDP's growing crisis as the fight for the party leadership deepens. Two factions locked in a battle for control. The Turaki-led group and the Wike-backed camp led by Abdurrahman Muhammad. INEC has now stepped in again a little over a week after that infamous meeting with the two factions, writing, of course, clarifying that it will not recognize the leadership of Turaki, claiming that the leadership of the party remains disputed in the Nigerian court of law. Now, the decision has sparked yet another sharp counter-reactions from all sides within the PDP. The Wike-backed camp says INEC's position backs its long-held argument against the Ibadan Convention. The Turaki-led National Working Committee disagrees with INEC's recent comments, as well as its position on the long-standing battle for the leadership of the party. It went further to accuse INEC of bias and of siding with the Wike faction to weaken what it calls a duly elected leadership. In fact, it disagrees with the idea of factionalization of the PDP. So on the program tonight, we'll hear from both sides of the divide within the PDP and how that INEC decision is going to decide who gets to run the affairs of the party in the weeks and months to come, especially as those outstanding legal battles continue to play out in the federal high courts. But first, let's bring you up to speed with the latest developments in Nigeria's politics.
The House of Representatives Committee probing alleged discrepancies in Nigeria's gazetted tax laws says its findings will be ready once investigations are completed. Committee Chairman Mukhtar Batara gave the assurance after the panel's inaugural meeting in Abuja. The seven-member committee was set up following a privilege motion raised by Sokoto lawmaker Abdullahi Dasuki over differences between tax bills passed by lawmakers and the version gazetted by the presidency. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has accused President Bola Tinubu of failing to implement a Supreme Court ruling granting financial autonomy to local governments. Atiku said nearly 2 years after the judgment directing direct allocation of funds to the 774 councils, the federal government has yet to comply, describing the delay as a deliberate disregard for the rule of law. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps has confirmed a terrorist attack on its personnel in the Wawa area of Bargu local government area, Niger State. State Commandant Suberu Siaka Anibi said the attackers struck shortly after midnight but met resistance from officers on duty. He explained that while personnel responded swiftly, the attackers' large number and poor visibility made the encounter challenging.
Right, welcome back to the program. You're still watching Daily Politics. We're just getting things started. I'll bring you up to speed there with some of the day's biggest political stories. We're talking PDP, the outstanding leadership battle, the one that continues to play out week in, week out. Last week, INEC summoned both factions to their headquarters in Abuja in an effort to negotiate or at least mediate some sort of truce that would see the end of the internal wranglings. This week, the tone has changed, especially from the umpire, the regulator of political parties in Nigeria, which seems to give the Abdurrahman Muhammad-led faction of the leadership side of the argument some sort of boost as they continue to push their arguments against the recognition of the Ibadan Convention, which brought in Turaki as the new national chairman of the PDP. Let's bring in Umar Sani, a PDP chieftain on the side of the Turaki camp of the conversation. Alhaji, thank you so much for joining us on the program tonight. It's good to see you again. Obviously, not a good development. Your side of the aisle has disputed what INEC has had to say, doubling down, saying that there are no factions in the PDP. Is it fair to describe the response from the Turaki camp as a denial of what appears to be obvious to everyone, especially the regulator?
that INEC is a regulator of political parties, but INEC is not a regulator of internal affairs of a political party. Political party. INEC is not an umpire in an internal affairs of a political party, and INEC has no business prognosing into the affairs of a political party. An SDP.
I'm afraid, Alhaji Umar Sani, if you can hear me, we're having some trouble trying to hear your audio. I don't know whether it's the headset you're using, but we're going to need to sort that out. Just to clarify the point that you were about to make, you say INEC has no business. And obviously that's not true. Constitutionally, INEC does have
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Just follow up on the point you were making about INEC's role in what is playing out. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please
Can
go
you
ahead.
hear me?
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you again. Please go ahead.
Now, like I said earlier, let me try to use the.
I think we can hear you just fine. I'm not sure if you can hear me on the other side, but we can hear you just clearly.
You. Okay. Now, I said INEC has no business in the internal affairs of a political party. I did not say INEC has no business with political parties. But in the internal affairs of a political party, INEC has no business. This has been taken care of by a Supreme Court judgment. In fact, in a plethora of Supreme Court judgments, INEC cannot decide who to recognize and who not to recognize. That was the decision of the Supreme Court last week, Friday, between SDP and INEC. INEC has no power to recognize or not recognize. It is the political party itself that has the power to regulate itself and recognize whom they want to recognize. The law is clear. The law says that there can only be a faction where a competent court of law the PDP, the Electoral Act, as dispute or a disagreement, and not a faction. And that's why we're insisting that there is no faction within the PDP. Now, having said that, I want to let you know and make you understand that what INEC did was an ambush. We were asking INEC to give us audience to come and do some housekeeping duties with them. INEC, did not respond to us. Only for them to invite us and invite the other party and said we're holding a meeting. The Turaki actually wanted to move out of the meeting. He said he was not going to stay in that meeting because that is not the purpose for which we came to see INEC. But INEC invited both sides. We explained our position. Did explain the interview. And INEC said, okay.
Unfortunately, Alhaji, I'm going to have to put a pause on it here. We're going to take a moment's break and come back and sort out the, network connections or the audio challenges because we keep experiencing a breakage in the connection. So we're going to take a moment's break.
We'll be back. I can hear you.
Yeah, we'll be back in just a moment, just to be certain, so that we do not have an interrupted flow of the conversation. We'll take a moment's break. Daily Politics will be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Right, welcome back to the program. Thank you most kindly for staying with us. We're still talking PDP and the unfolding dilemma facing Nigeria's main opposition party, albeit a fading one considering the declining fortunes of the PDP. It is back in the news again this week with another twist that seems to shape the narrative around who the legitimate group is with regards to the leadership of the party. We've been speaking with Umar Sani, also known as the CAT, a PDP chieftain on the side of the Turaki-led camp of the National Working Committee of the party, which has received another blow, so to speak, considering INEC's decision to not necessarily recognize the legitimacy of the much contested Ibadan Convention from November this year. We've been having some difficulty with the connection. Let's give it another try. Hopefully this time around would have a smooth sailing. Go ahead and make your point regarding INEC's role, what it can and cannot do as far as you understand the provisions of the law.
We did not receive a blow. The Wike group. We went for a meeting because INEC invited us for housekeeping duties, for us to examine all the issues and then sort things out. But when we went there, we met an ambush.
Okay, I'll let you just hold on for a moment. From my understanding, the engineers think that we can have a much smoother conversation if we disconnect the headset you're using right now. So maybe we take a moment, disconnect the headset, and then let's try and see if we can have a smooth sail regarding the conversation, because we understand that the connectivity is not necessarily...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, like I said, I'm correcting you because we did not receive a blow. Perhaps you also want to take a side. Being an anchor and a moderator, you have to choose your words and how you express them. Telling us that we have taken a blow is amounting to the fact that you are also agreeing with certain aspects of the conversation, instead of you to anchor it in such a manner as to, be neutral and be unbiased in the discussion.
I was just using an adjective
having
to
said this,
how
having
you
said
feel
this,
about it. I'm just using that
I want to tell you
explain how
that
you feel
the
about
meeting
the
was an ambush.
Right.
It was an ambush. We were not ready for any meeting with the other side. The meeting was convened principally for us to do some housekeeping duties. And when we came to INEC, we saw them, and we actually wanted to walk out, but the INEC chairman prevailed on us to wait and have a discussion. We felt it was perhaps a friendly discussion. We didn't know that it was, a prelude to INEC taking a position on the matter. Perhaps you must have heard what has happened, when with Sheyi Makinde's interview, where he gave an analogy of what has happened while him and the former minister of FCT were with Mr. President, where Wike told him that he will hold PDP for him, which is what is playing. We are having problems with any government institution because they are trying to hold PDP for him. But we are going ahead with the judiciary, and we are very confident in the impartiality and the neutrality of the judiciary to do justice, because they have already settled this matter. Just recently at the lawyers' conference, at the judges' conference, Justice Ogunmeju Helen, her lordship, stood up and said that the federal high courts are giving them problem. The things they have settled, they have now made it a duty to always come up with issues that are incompatible, something that is no longer justiciable, they take it and then they make it a fresh event and taking it back, knowing the outcome, that when it comes to them, this is the outcome, but they still go ahead and do it. Things that are not justiciable, they still carry it. She lamented on it. So what we are telling you is that this is a settled matter. It's not what I know. It is what is in the public domain. What I know is private. What is in the public domain is public. Now, the Supreme Court just recently settled the issue of Labour Party. And in that decision, the Supreme Court said no court has the power to interfere in the internal affairs of a political party. What that means is that how parties choose their leaders is not the business of the courts, because the courts are not politicians. The courts are the settled disputes, and disputes must be between one party and another, and not within a party. How the party chooses its leaders, how it runs its affairs, is the business of the party. Now, if we have a regulator, the regulator has said it has powers to recognize. And in the case of SDP, it went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court settled the matter and said, no, you are a regulator. You don't have any power to go into the internal affairs of a political party to try to settle disputes. It is not your business. It is not your business to choose who to recognize and who not to recognize. And if the issue of recognition comes in, perhaps the political party itself is the one that should take that decision as to who they recognize and not the individual. INEC as a regulator is regulated by INEC's responsibility is to regulate between political parties and not within the internal affairs of political parties. So we are not bothered about what INEC said, because we know that it's a script that they are playing. We're having issues, one, with INEC, two, we're having issues with police. The police are going to seal our headquarters, they're going to seal Legacy House, our other office, without any court order. But we are not bothered, because we know that at the end of the day, the truth will prevail and everything will come to light. The fact that INEC made that pronouncement is merely done to give some succor to the Wike group to believe that they are still parallel, but they are not parallel. We have one PDP and one leadership and one convention, and we stand by it.
What the rest of us can see from all, the glass is both half full and half empty. And just to be clear about what is playing out and the clear constitutional roles of the three key parties involved, institutions involved. INEC's job, as you did say, is to regulate. The political party's job is to manage the affairs of the party, and the court's role constitutionally is to adjudicate, especially in cases where there are disputes that need to be settled. And so far, the facts of the matter is there are two federal high courts who have yet to rule on the matters pending before them regarding whether or not the PDP has followed its own rules, its own constitutional rules regarding the convention in Ibadan this year. So, isn't INEC on safe ground to say, listen, the verdict is not out yet, so we cannot even legally recognize anybody as the true leadership of the PDP yet?
You missed the point. The point here is that there were two judgments from their side. One on the Sulolamido issue, and the other one on Justice Omotosho's issue. And then these two judgments, because they involve injunctive declaration, we now applied for a stay of execution. INEC did not recognize our motion for stay of execution. And by law, if you apply for a stay of execution, it is temporarily stayed until it is heard by the appeal court. It is no longer the matter of the Federal High Court. until it is heard by the appeal court. And the appeal court is yet to be constituted. So within the period which of the pendency of that our motion, we are covered by the fact that that judgment is stayed. It cannot be executed until there is a judgment from the appeal court. So this is the issue that we are saying. And then the Ibadan court had we gave us permission, gave us the go ahead through an interlocutory order. That an interlocutory order is an order that is given that you should go ahead or do something, or go ahead and stop doing something until the case is determined. So the order stays until the case is determined. So we are covered by that interlocutory order by the Ibadan court. But also, and that's why we went to do our competition. Now, it is not the business of INEC.
If I may.
INEC has, like I told you, has been clearly told in the decided case of INEC took an appeal against SDP. And the Supreme Court said, look, you don't have business to say, I recognize this or I don't recognize this. You are not, it's not your business.
Right.
And so it is not INEC's business to begin to interfere. They are meddlesome interlopers, busybody, trying to go into a political party and make pronouncements. They have clearly shown bias. And that's why we're saying that INEC is biased in this matter.
Are you aware about...
Don't forget.
Are you aware of the exclusive Federal High Court jurisdiction?
Even the INEC chairman is a junior to our national chairman. Our national chairman became an SAN in 2002. And INEC chairman became SAN in 2014.
What does that matter, allegedly, to the conversation? How is that important
to the conversation? Because it shows that somebody is well grounded in law, and he is an administrative SAN, while the national chairman is a jurisdictional SAN, and he goes to court.
Right.
This one doesn't go to court, so he does not even understand what we are saying, and that's why he's behaving the way he's behaving.
I mean, some would find and question your approach, attacking a renowned professor of law who is now heading the electoral umpire because you doubt his credibility when it comes to jurisprudence. But you talk about jurisdiction. Are you aware or familiar with the exclusive Federal High Court jurisdiction?
Jurisdiction here. What I was telling you is
I'm asking a question if you're familiar
Ibadan court.
I'm asking a question if you're familiar with the concept, with the principle.
Ibadan court delisted INEC. We didn't sue INEC. Even in the Ibadan court, we were not the people that sued. In all the cases you are talking about, none is we that sued. They all sued us. In the Ibadan case, it is a contestant that sued the PDP and said the court should direct PDP to conduct the convention, because if the convention is not conducted, he will suffer an irreparable injury. And on the basis of that, the court said, okay, the PDP should go ahead with the convention. So I'm only trying to tell you that the PDP was not the one that sued, even in Ibadan. All the three cases, none did we sue anybody. We were sued and we obeyed court order.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer the question about jurisdiction, because that was my question. If you are well aware that state high courts cannot, in some cases, entertain a matter that concerns federal agencies.
I'm telling you, if you can hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I mean, it will eventually break off, but yeah, I can hear you for the moment.
Is that
okay? We're going to need you to take off the air plug. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
We are not using the Ibadan judgment to say we have now. We didn't involve INEC. We didn't call INEC. We were not the ones that sued. The person who sued included INEC. So it is his ignorance that he included INEC. But the court, when INEC went to say this is beyond, it is not within the jurisdiction of the court to involve us inside, they were delisted and the case continued. And the matter has been adjourned to the 26th of January for further hearing. So what we are saying is our convention was directed by a court that we should go ahead and hold the convention so that that person cannot suffer that injury that he said he was going to suffer. Apart from that, all the other cases are completely different. Those ones are completely different from that one. And what I'm trying to tell you is that legally, we went into the convention with the approval of a court.
Right. And of course, the INEC chairman has also expressed his concerns about all those pending judgments that would effectively decide whether or not what happened in Ibadan happened on solid legal grounds in accordance with the PDP constitution, which is going to be the most important factor should this case reach the Supreme Court, because that is what the Supreme Court would consider. Case in point, what happened with SDP, case in point, what happened with the Labour Party. But in the final analysis, Alhaji, for most Nigerians, PDP followers, political persons, whoever is watching from the outside looking in, this signpost the rise and inevitable, what is playing out right now, fall of the PDP, the once mighty PDP. And everything that is playing out right now looks to be something that is playing out to be the last chapter of the PDP as a opposition or major political player. What do you say to people who say that, you know, there is no denying the obvious, that PDP's political relevance is dying out, and this could be the final nail in that coffin?
Well, let me first and foremost tell you that this matter is not even for the Supreme Court to determine using the PDP constitution, because the Supreme Court has settled that those matters they are bringing to court are not even justiciable. They are not issues you should even take to court. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It's not about whether the Supreme Court will decide or it will not decide. The Supreme Court has severally held that these are matters that should not go to court, because they are matters that concerns how the party runs its own leadership. The courts believe that political parties are voluntary organizations or associations. And so they can set their rules, and then they can operate the rules, their leadership, how they choose their leadership is entirely their business. It is not the duty of the court to say, yes, this is how you should go and choose your leader. Or it is not the business of INEC to come and tell us this is how you should take your leader. INEC's duty is merely, as provided in the Electoral Act, is to monitor. And they did not give them any power that after monitoring they can reject or they can accept. No, they don't have all that right. Now, we have been given the only condition for us to hold the National Convention is based on 3 factors. 1, that we give INEC 21-day notice, which we have done. 2, INEC should be there in the meeting where it was decided that that convention will take place. And INEC has since confirmed that they were in the meeting, in the next meeting where we took that decision. And of course, the convention taking place. So that there is nothing that we followed all the rules. You know, so nobody can now sit down, and they cannot sit down and say we recognize or we don't recognize. And like I said, you will see it when the superior courts come into play. You will see what I'm saying, and I will be on this program, right, to enlighten you once again, right, that these things have already been settled. Like I told you, Justice Ogunmeju has said that this is an abuse of court process. Something that has been settled, you are still bringing it back to court. You are still bringing it back to court.
You know, so this is what it is known. They have already clearly stated it is not justiciable. It is not something you should go to court over. PDP is still there. PDP is strong. All we need is just that hurdle to cross, and then everything, it will fall into place. The PDP has not fallen. The mighty has not fallen. The mighty is still mighty, and I can assure you, immediately after the court judgment, we will bounce back.
All right.
Thank you.
Safe to say that at the moment, the fate of the PDP is in the hands of Nigerian courts. Alhaji Umar Sani, thank you so much, as always, for the analysis. I appreciate you very much for joining the conversation. Alhaji Umar Sani, the PDP chieftain, joined us virtually from Kaduna to shed light on the ongoing internal crisis that has factionalized the People's Democratic Party, PDP, into two halves. One led by Turaki, SAN, and the other by Abdurrahman Mohammed, of course, with the backing of the FCT Minister, Wike, which is obviously signposting this ongoing battle that some would say started long before the last general election.